Broadcasting across California, you're watching The Issue Is.
Fetch the pectorals. Very nice.
Our personal trainer this week, the greatest bodybuilder in history.
Then you go back, think about the rib cage.
Okay.
Expanding the rib cage.
Arnold Schwarzenegger inviting The Issue Is to the so-called mecca of bodybuilding, Gold's Gym in Venice.
The issue is.
Yeah.
The issue is flexing.
Schwarzenegger has been training here for 55 years and is teaching me and my trainer, Davey Fisher, some new moves.
6, 7, all the way back.
Doesn't take long for us to get competitive.
Should we do the whole plate?
I try lifting the whole stack.
One more, just for the heck of it. Very nice, bravo. Unbelievable the power the man has. Not only on television, but in the gym, right here at Gold's Gym.
Then it's time to head inside the gym to discuss his new book, Be Useful, 7 Tools for Life, which debuted at #1 on the New York Times bestseller list.
Governor Schwarzenegger, welcome back to The Issue Is, and congrats on Be Useful, your new book, #1.
Well, thank you. You don't have to call me governor because here we're in Gold's Gym, so everyone calls me here Arnold.
Okay.
Okay,
That feels
good.
weird for me to call you
Yeah,
Arnold.
I know. But,
I mean, what does, let's start with Gold's Gym. I mean, you're literally up on the wall right over here.
Right.
What does this place symbolize to you?
To me, #1, it symbolizes generosity and togetherness and inclusion and hate. Joe Gold, who built the place, it was now 1968, he said to me, he says, you're a foreigner. You're over there from Germany, from Austria. He says, you don't have to pay. So then I became the first member that didn't have to pay. And everyone, even his closest friends, freaked out. They said, what? Joe said you don't have to pay. He made me pay. I'm his closest friend.
Right.
And so Joe had everyone pay. So then the next thing I knew was that the people from Gold's Gym came to my apartment and started giving me dishes and silverware and pillowcases and blankets and a black and white TV and a radio and all of that stuff. So I just I literally had tears in my eyes. I've never had this kind of a generosity and inclusion that I felt, kind of like they really absorbed me and they really took me with open arms, brought me into the bodybuilding community, into the Gold's Gym community. So this is why I've been loyal for all this 55 years now, and they've been training in Gold's Gym.
Yeah. So the book is called Be Useful, and it starts with you talking about one of the lower moments in your life after some personal failures in your marriage, and sort of reassessing for you, where do I go from here? How am I most useful? How do you see yourself now at this moment in your life as being most useful?
Well, interestingly enough, it took me into a direction that I never thought I would go, which is to become a motivational speaker and to write motivational books and to do seminars, motivational seminars, all of the stuff that I never thought I ever would do. This book kind of was written in mind that I want to teach people how did I do it, what did I learn during my long career, and what are the tools that I found are very, very important to become successful, to become happier.
And obviously you talk about the most important tool is to have a vision. And then you also talk about this idea of being curious and being a sponge, and asking good questions. And that one of the keys to interesting, successful people, they'll help you if you ask them good questions. So as I'm now in this process of sitting with a interesting, smart person, what would you describe as a good question? What are the best kinds of questions somebody can ask you?
May I remind you, and this is not kind of like, making you feel good because of your audience or so, but you're one of the best, if not the best interviewer. And I tell you why, because I always walk away and I said, he really asked profound and good questions. But it is only can come if you're curious.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about in the book. Open your mind and shut your mouth, right? Or shut your mouth and open your mind.
Yeah.
You can do either way, but the bottom line is that is what it's all about, because I learned much more when I shut up, when I just listened.
I appreciate the compliment, but you also talk about Shma. How does that work in terms of, you talk about sell, 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 and oftentimes BS helps the sale a little bit.
Well, it's not BS in the same sense as like but
Right.
it is kind of like, how do we spice it up?
Right.
You know, like for instance, if I go and Monday was a perfect example. You know, when I got the award from the
Holocaust Museum,
the
Los Angeles,
Holocaust
honoring
Museum.
you for your work
Exactly,
against anti-Semitism.
getting this award, it's award for courage.
Right.
Because I speak out. Well, I can go and talk about speaking out and about not being prejudiced and to be inclusive and not to be into hate and all that stuff. All I want.
Right.
But now if you add a little Shma to the whole thing, which means like a story.
Okay.
How do I make now this kind of subject brew a little bit and create life? And so that people are listening rather than a lecture, but a story. So I told a story about how when I brought home a magazine to my parents, and my father looked at it and it said, "This is from a Jew, Ben Weider. Ben Gurion was the president of Israel. I mean, this is Ben. This is a Jewish magazine. Where did he get this magazine?" So I told a story that I detected at the age of 15 how my father was still prejudiced. And the funny thing was that the very same person that he was attacking, this Ben Weider and Joe Weider, two Jews, are the ones that brought me to America and made my dream become a reality. So I told that story to the audience, and all of a sudden the audience got it of where I got my kind of a change within the next, kind of generation.
So when you said that to your dad, who was a Nazi officer, that Jews were responsible for bringing you to America and responsible for your success, how did he react? Do you think he started to change?
Well, so this was one of those things. I was now in America, and he couldn't do anything about it other than just maybe learn.
Yeah.
So I told him, I said, "Well, this is not the only Jew." And he says, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, Reg Park, my idol, his mother was Jewish, and therefore he's Jewish." I said, when I got into the movies here, my first movie I did was Bob Raferson is a Jew. Mike Medawar, who got me the part in Stay Hungry, is a Jew. I said, the guy that had received me in Gold's Gym, he's a Jew. I said, so all of these guys that are helping me in America realize my dreams are Jewish. I said, so you should never ever talk about Jews that way. You got to get off that. And he never ever talked about it badly again after that. And so I don't know if that changed him as a person or anything like that, because he was misled, of course. But I mean, the bottom line was I got it off my chest, what the reality of it is.
One of the things you talk about in this book is this concept of letting people underestimate you, which is something you did with the governor's debate when you were running in the recall, and a lot of people underestimated you.
Right. I knew the subjects, I knew the issues, and I also had some good jokes, and the other ones didn't, because I always feel that everything that you do in life has to have a part of humor. No matter if you're deadly sick, you got to go and have some humor, have people joke around you to lighten things up, and including in a gubernatorial debate or presidential debate, because when I went in there and sat down for that debate, there was absolute silence in the room, because everyone was kind of like, oh, this is the debate for the governorship. Oh, this is really serious. Bogus, right? What is serious here? So I mean, it's like, it's kind of just, he's going to run the state, but not alone. It's like there's all this other mechanism there. But anyway, I felt kind of like, okay, let me try a joke here. And so I made a joke. I think it was about Ariana Huffington. I said, your tax loopholes are so big that they can fit my Hummer through it. And everyone started howling in the theater, in that room, in that hall.
Right.
So I realized that's what they need.
Yeah.
They don't need this serious kind of policy stuff. They can care less. They want jokes. They want me to attack each one of the candidates. That's what I started doing. And all of a sudden, the whole thing lit up. And the next day, the poll numbers came out. Schwarzenegger won the debates by 60% and blah, blah, blah.
And your poll numbers went up
and
like
25%. And I went past,
which is crazy.
All the other candidates.
At 76 years old, you are having a moment right now. Your show, FUBAR, was #1 on Netflix. Your documentary about you was #1 on Netflix. Your book, Be Useful, debuts at #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. And in both the book and the documentary, you're really vulnerable and honest and talk about your failures in addition to your successes. Can you talk about your decision to be so vulnerable?
You know, I don't look at myself as making myself vulnerable. I think that I have learned over the years that it's always good to be able to express yourself and to say, you know, whatever is on your mind, and to be honest, because I think that we can learn much more for ourselves, and other people can learn from you if you are honest, if you realize that you're bad in something or that you failed in something. The best way to is to recognize that. That's when you can really improve. Mm-hmm. Because if you ignore it and if you say, well, no, that was not me, it was caused because of this and that, and if you find excuses for your failures, then you would never learn and you would never grow. And to me, it's all about growing, because remember, I see the mind and the way our brain works the same as our muscles. Mm-hmm. Now, you and I, we worked out together. Mm-hmm. So we know that the more we pull on that bar, the more resistance we give our muscles, the better it can grow, because the more it will respond. Well, the head is the same way. Your character is the same way. The more you give the character, your head and your brain resistance, and the more you make it struggle, and the more you make it suffer, and the more you've experienced defeat and all of those kind of things, and recognize it, and then try to repair it again, the stronger it will get.
Up next, the end of Hollywood's actor strike and what the Terminator taught us about AI.
I'll be back.
We're talking to Arnold Schwarzenegger, the author of Be Useful. Governor, while we have you, a couple quick just news of the week questions. SAG AFTRA strike is over. Hollywood will be coming back to work. Your reaction to that?
I think probably like every actor and like everyone in show business and everyone in Los Angeles that has a business, including the mayor that runs the city, is as happy as I am today. Because, you know, strikes is not damaging only for the people that work in that specific industry, but it cripples the whole economy. So I think it hurt a lot of people, but it is a necessary step to get and to make improvements in your benefits. So I think that now actors get better benefits and there's more thoughtfulness about AI and all of those kind of things. So I think it's good that it's over. Now everyone can go back to work. The writer's strike is over, everything is over, and now we can go back to work. And I'm looking forward to this coming year.
Isn't it crazy that your career started fighting back against machines, and now literally there's a negotiation about fighting back against machines with the AI, and,
well, you
and
know,
how a lot of that is sort of coming true.
Yes, but I mean, what is amazing about it was that in 1984, when we did the movie, 83, 84, at that point, I just looked at it as kind of a horror movie, Terminator, and as an action movie, as a B movie.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the actual intelligence of the writing of that script, Jim Cameron did such an unbelievable job that it actually was the most sophisticatedly written movie of that year and for a long time to come.
Sure.
Because everything that he predicted in this film is becoming a reality. Where we are now kind of in fear of this self-awareness of the machines.
Another big thing in the news is what's happening with Israel and Hamas. Obviously, you've spoken out so much about anti-Semitism in the last few years, and we've talked with you a lot about that. Sort of, how do you think about that conflict right now? And I know you're also very concerned about innocent Palestinians.
Well, as I have said in the past, that there was a sad, unprovoked attack on the Israelis. And, you know, barbaric attack. I mean, when you see the footage, it's just awful to be in a situation like that. And so, to me, then there's the response of the Israelis, which they have to respond to. It's clear, it's their responsibility. But then you say to yourself, okay, this is not new. This has been around for decades, if not thousands of years. You can go that far back. And so this is because politicians have not really come to a peace agreement. And that's their responsibility. And they have failed, and because of their failure, soldiers have to die, innocent people have to die on both sides. And it's just what is happening now, the outcome of all of that unprovoked attack and savage attack now is like everyone has to suffer. Everyone is. And to me, I feel like the Israelis have a right to exist. They've been given this land. And so for anyone to go and say, you know, they should all be dead and we should dive them in the ocean and all this crazy talk is ludicrous.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I have to say that the Palestinians also have a right to exist. And they should have a land. And so they have to figure out, someone out there has to figure out, or a team of people, how do they bring them together? And how do they go and come to a peace agreement and to some kind of a solution to all this so that people can live in harmony?
When we come back, how a pet pig changed Arnold's life and why a little dog rules his home.
We were talking with Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, the author of Be Useful. When you were on The Issue Is last, we had major breaking news, which was that you had a pig at your house, Schnelly. It was the first time you talked about that.
Well, I'm glad you call this major breaking news.
Yeah, I mean, it was really, all over the world, people were writing about this pig,
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
So, any more animals? Any new animals?
Not right now, but it is kind of like having a new animal because this pig now has gone from a 17-pound pig to a 50-plus pound pig. I mean, it's now getting heavier and heavier when I pick it up and I put it on my lap. He's very talkative. He's like, oink, 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 oink. He always comes into the kitchen, kind of like, and the way he walks with his ass going back and forth like this, and just walking very bossy, you know, and then he tries to eat the dog's food and everyone's food and everything like this. Yesterday I had a plate on my lap, and he just came around, he looked at me like this, sniffed a little bit, and then all of a sudden, jumped on my lap like a dog.
Right.
He normally doesn't do that.
Okay.
Pigs don't do that. He jumped up with his front paws and grabbed the sandwich and took off. But so fast, you know, you say to yourself, this overweight pig, this fat pig, I mean, could never move that fast. But that's why we call him Schnelly.
Because he moves.
Schnell means fast.
Right.
So Schnelly is a cute way of saying he's the fastest.
So your fantastic girlfriend, whose birthday it is today,
yeah.
right? So happy birthday to Heather.
Thank you very much.
And
Thank you.
we love Heather.
Thank
and
you.
she's responsible for this whole thing. So we got 3 dogs, right? A miniature horse, a donkey, and the pig.
Well, she grew up with animals in Colorado. And so she has been really terrific. And she's helping so many people with the therapy, physical therapy, with her institute, with, you know, she's doing such a great job with that.
And Cherry is what?
It's a little one.
A Yorkie or a Shih Tzu?
Yorkie, exactly,
A Yorkie.
Yeah.
And everybody else is like this.
It's
Does
gigantic.
Cherry run the house?
She's the toughest.
Yeah.
So she's the toughest. She immediately growls, shows the teeth, and bites.
Right.
You know, so there's, I mean, all of the animals are afraid of Cherry.
It's usually that way, right?
Yeah, exactly.
A little Napoleon complex for Cherry.
Up next, Mr. Olympia evaluates my strength on this very special edition of The Issue Is.
9. And expanding.
We're working out with Arnold Schwarzenegger, the most surreal workout of my life.
What do you think of my form? What can I do better? What constructive criticism do you have?
Well, I know why you're asking me that question.
Why am I asking you that
You're asking
question?
me this question because you know that you have done really well out there. On the
No, not necessarily.
Oh, you know it.
No.
I saw in your eyes how great you do. The way you poured things down. Boom, 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 boom. And then you looked over at me. I saw that little glimpse, kind of like, Governor, look at me, huh? I'm not a beginner. I've been doing this for a while. So now you just want to get a reconfirmation to confirm that you are fantastic. No, I mean, look, the key thing with working out is that we do the movements the right way, that we have the right rhythm, that we have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Like, how many people do we see that do half movements?
Right.
And when you start doing half movements in the gym, then you're gonna do half movements in everything in your life, is what concerns me. This is why it's very important to help people in the gym and to say, do this movement fully, because the only one you're cheating on is yourself.
Well, I love the way that you end the book, which is essentially saying thank you and expressing gratitude to the people that have been your inspirations and your mentors. And I just want to say, no BS on this. Thank you. As you wrote to other people, thank you for the inspiration to have a clear vision, to think bigger. Thank you for the idea of being your own advocate to sell things. And thank you for teaching us about hard work and about gratitude and service. And you have inspired me, and I know I speak for millions of people around the world that you've inspired as well. So honestly, from the bottom of my heart, thank you, Governor, for what you do and for inspiring us to be useful.
It's my pleasure, and I hope people pick up the book and learn from that, because it will really help you.
Governor
Thank you
Arnold
very much.
Schwarzenegger, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate it. Congrats
Thank
on
you.
the book.
Ow, 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 ow.
Okay. Sorry. Too strong after that
What
pump.
is the matter with you?
Yeah.
This is my drinking hand. Thank you.
Great stuff. Thank you
Okay,
so much.
right,
That was
absolutely.
really excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you. I love that.
You can watch our full unedited conversation with Arnold Schwarzenegger at youtube.com/Elex Michaelson, or listen to it in podcast form by searching for The Issue Is wherever you stream.
8, 9, 10. 2 more.
2 more.
1.